Hey?
Fuck yeah!
Ah, yes! Fuck yeah, Raging Al! Oh, I get it.
Yeah, Raging Al.
Now wait a second. Listen,
Like
Hey, DC. First of all, you're on with myself and Phoenix Carnivale.
Hi, DC.
How you guys doing?
We're
Good.
doing great. Now, how exciting was that fight the other night? Because I know you were there, and it wasn't weird at all seeing you before, because I know that's your boy. You know, Al's my boy. But it's weird when I could tell from your interactions. I love it on camera, and I could tell like behind the scenes, whether it's embedded or wherever I see it. I like your interactions with Khabib. You guys have it looks like you have a very close relationship, and I like the way you guys are silly with each other. And so when he's fighting, and listen, Al, I love Al. I mean, how could you not love Al? He's just he's the definition of a warrior. So when they're fighting, like you're so emotionally involved. How did you feel during that fight?
It was tough, because you know how dangerous Al Iaquinta is.
Right.
I mean, you know what I hate? You know what I hate, you guys, is that when people say stuff like, well, how do you become champion when you fight the number 11 ranked guy? I said the only reason Al's ranked 11 is because he doesn't fight often.
Nope.
If he fought as often as he did, he'd be in the top 5. He's beaten Kevin Lee, right? He beat Kevin Lee.
Yes.
He beat Michael Johnson. He's beaten guys that were in the top 5. So I know that if Al was more consistent, he would be a top 5 guy. He just doesn't fight very often. But it was tough, man. I like watching it. I like watching it because Khabib was successful, but also I like watching how tough and how durable and how game Al was in there, trying to get his hand raised, man. Dude never gave up on himself. He is the epitome, right, Maddie? Like you going in there and beating George St. Pierre back in the day when nobody thought you could, and then this kid going out there and fighting Khabib in the way that he is. Only a New Yorker could pull that off.
I'll tell you, I'm so happy when I found out it was Al. Myself and Longo, we know Al's attitude and his losses. I agree with you 100% with like the rankings because he's not as active because he had some injuries and stuff. But if you look at his losses, as far as no quit, I mean, with his 2 losses, he got put to sleep because he just doesn't want to give in. Like, I'm not saying that's a smart thing to do, but I'm just saying there's no quitting him. You have to literally there's some guys, and you know this because you've been around a while, DC, some guys you literally have to turn that switch off or else they're going to keep coming.
Yep. That's Al Iaquinta.
That is Al Iaquinta.
That's why when people were surprised at the end of the fight and it was a decision, I was like, I wasn't, because I know how tough this young man is.
Yeah, well, that was a fantastic night all around. Now, listen, how was it? Now you're back, you're done filming. It's the new Ultimate Fighter. What the hell season is this?
27.
Season
27.
Season 27. Oh man, now I was on season 4. I feel old as shit right now. But now how was that experience? You've done it before. You've been on there with Kane, yes?
Yeah, I was on there with Kane. I was on there with Koscheck as an assistant. But this was the first time that I've had my own team.
Yes.
It was good, man. It was a good time. It was fun. We had some really, really talented fighters. And I think when you have guys that are that talented, it makes it a lot easier. And I had my friends there with me. I had my coaching staff, and Kane came the entire time. So we had a good time, man. You learn a lot about those guys in the time you spend when you're gone somewhere for 4.5, 5 weeks, living together every day, spending time together, cooking, doing all this stuff. You learn a lot about your friends. So I enjoyed the entire experience.
Isn't it strange in that short period of time? Because I went back as a coach also, and you end up caring about these guys they're strangers. They're not your team like back home at AKA, but yet you're kind of looking out for them, or at least I was. I mean, did you get attached to any of these guys? I mean, get to know them?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. I got a kid on my team that he left me this note whenever he left the Ultimate Fighter House, and I'll never get rid of it because it just was so well put and so well thought that I knew, right, in the season I knew I can see him and I developing a really good relationship. I could feel it. You can feel when you're developing a relationship with someone, and the kid wrote me a letter, and it was amazing, man, and I'll never forget that letter, but also my time spent in the house with all of my guys. The guys are amazing, man. And these kids can really fight. Like, they all came ready to go.
DC, how hard is it? I mean, you wear so many hats within the organization, fighting, coaching, commentating. How do you do it? How do you compartmentalize everything at any given moment?
You know, I'm with all the things that I do, you know, like you said, I just think back to 2008 and 9, you know, before I moved to California and I was at the Olympic Games and I didn't get to wrestle and I had nothing. Like, I had nothing, right? I wasn't doing anything. I would sit around the house, not doing anything with no purpose. And I'm like, man, to have things to do now is a blessing because I could be in that situation again. Nothing's guaranteed, man. And you know, I'm sorry. My wife just yelled at me. She scared me. I'm cooking eggs. I'm cooking eggs, and she's sitting on the couch, and she was like waving at me because I got my headphones in, and she goes, "Daniel," and I like jumped. And she startled me. She really did startle me.
About to burn the house down.
Yeah. My eggs are like burning. But yeah, you know, the wheels can fall off at any time, man, and you can be right back in that situation. So I'm just blessed with the opportunity, and blessed that the UFC trusts me to wear as many hats as I do within the organization.
Now, what do you prefer? I enjoy you in both seats, whether you're doing the analyst work or you're doing the commentary. Now, what do you prefer better?
I like them both, Matt. The thing about the commentary is it's like last weekend in Phoenix, we had 14 fights.
Yeah.
So we sat there for 7 hours calling fights. We were there for 7 hours calling fights. That's the longest one I've done to this point. So I was kind of like, man, this is brutal. Like, this is brutal. And with the analyst stuff, it's like I'm there, you know, all day, but I'm speaking of Ally Aquinta for 30-second burst, like a 30-second burst on Ally Aquinta, and then somebody else speaks. Whereas he's in there for 25 minutes. I've got to have stuff for him for 25 minutes, especially when the fight action slows down.
Yeah.
I think I went to UFC 208 in Brooklyn, Matt, when Jermaine Durandamy fought Holly Holm. And all of my notes got used because the action was kind of slow. You know, it was like I used every single trinket that I had stored in the bank. You know, generally you don't use them all. You over-prepare, you know, but that fight, when you have a slow fight, you start telling stories from when they were like 9 years old. You know, Holly was 9.
Mrs. Trachtenberg was her second grade teacher, and she scored well on her spelling bee.
Miss Trachtenberg was very happy about her ability to be intelligent. Until when the fight's slow, you got to make some shit going.
That's got to be scary, getting some dead air, right? You just got to keep yapping.
You got to keep going, man. So, but ultimately, I do prefer still calling the fights because you're right on top of the action, man. You got the best seat in the house.
Definitely.
And you're doing it with your friends. You know, I'm sitting there with Dominic Cruz, the guy I enjoy a ton, and we're calling fights. You know, we seem to bicker because that's who we are. We do it at the Fox desk. We do it on the commentary, but that's our relationship. But it's like you're doing it with friends.
And once it's over, once the bickering's over, you guys are back to normal? Or do you still bicker about it even after the camera or the mics are off?
No. We it's gone. Like yesterday, Dom called me and he goes, you know, I felt like when we were in the booth, he goes, there were times where I felt like we stepped on each other. He goes, when I rewatched it, he goes, I really, really enjoyed it. I go, because it's good, Dominic. Calm down. It was good. It was fine. Don't overthink it. He's so smart that he may overthink things at times.
Right. And when you have to have two very strong points of view because the audience has very, very strong points of view, you know?
Yes.
I really was curious, though, because for me, looking at you, DC, you have definitely grown on me to the point where I just root for you like crazy. And what's amazing is that I think that you have a general sense of professionalism and responsibility as an athlete. So curiosity hit me, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on 223, the McGregor situation, and especially because Khabib is a friend of yours.
I thought it was crazy. You know, so first off, Khabib and him smacked around his friend, I guess. So him wanting to defend his homeboy is a pretty good idea. You know, it's cool. You stick up for your friend. But you have to find a better way to do it. You know what I don't understand is how they got on that plane, and for 5.5 hours, nobody just sat back and said, hey, Conor, I'm not sure. Like somebody just go, hey, look, we come up with this plan to go and bum rush this bus.
Right.
I'm not sure this is a great idea. Like, maybe we should reconsider. How could nobody have said that in 5.5 hours? Like, guys, like, I don't know if this is going to work out as we originally planned it. And sure as shit it didn't. They ended up in jail. So I think you got to just rethink it a little bit. You got to rethink what you're doing. But no, the thought to help his buddy was cool, but the action was not the right way to go about it.
Right.
I wonder if the plan was to get them at the bus, where the buses were.
I don't know.
Maybe they were just running into the hotel and looking for him, and that's where they were at that moment.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it could be, but it wasn't smart either way, though.
Because things happen passionately, like with John, with you and John, and the podium thing when you pushed each other and all that craziness happened.
Yeah,
hilarious. I have to ask you this: did you ever see the skit they did where they dubbed over the Chappelle Show with you and John?
No.
Oh my!
No,
we'll send that to you. It is the most. I've watched it like 500 times. It is the most hilarious thing, where it's like
Please let me see it.
Rick